He was given a chance. The entire world watched as Jimmy and Jey Uso stood face to face with CM Punk and demanded one simple thing: an apology for mentioning their late uncle, Roman Reigns' father. Punk refused. Instead, he doubled down, mocked the family, and brought up Dusty Rhodes. What happened next shook the arena. But after the cameras stopped rolling, the tribal chief finally broke his silence. Subscribe now and hit that bell. Welcome back to the exclusive coverage you won't find anywhere else. The March 9th episode of Monday Night Raw from Seattle will go down as one of the most emotionally charged nights in WrestleMania season history. CM Punk walked into the Climate Pledge Arena as the World Heavyweight Champion, ready to address the controversy that has consumed the wrestling world for a full week. His comments about Sika Anoa'i, the late father of Roman Reigns and beloved patriarch of the Samoan dynasty, crossed a line that should never be crossed. Tonight, the family demanded answers. What they got was a masterclass in deflection, a painful reminder of past disrespect, and ultimately, a punch that sent a message. Let's rewind to understand why this moment carries such weight. Last week, Punk looked Roman Reigns in the eyes and told him he would bury him next to his father. The arena fell silent. The show went off the air with Reigns frozen, visibly shaken. For 7 days, the wrestling world waited for an apology, for some acknowledgement that a line had been crossed. Sika wasn't just any wrestler, he was a Hall of Famer, one half of the legendary Wild Samoans, the foundation upon which an entire dynasty was built. For Punk to weaponize his memory was to attack not just one man, but an entire legacy. The Usos took it personally. Jimmy and Jey Uso, who have been through their own complicated journey with Roman, understood that this was bigger than their family drama. This was about respect for a man who could no longer speak for himself. The main event segment began with CM Punk strutting to the ring, that familiar smirk on his face. He started talking about the criticism he'd faced, about how the world title around his waist was created because Roman Reigns ran away from the responsibility of being a champion. He positioned himself as a fighting champion, leveling up the competition every time he steps in the ring. Then the Usos' music hit. Jey Uso immediately grabbed a microphone, his voice shaking with emotion, and demanded an apology. Jimmy, ever a calmer presence, stepped in and explained that this wasn't about Roman, it was about their late uncle, about respect. Punk's response was calculated genius. He spoke about his deep root in history with the Anoa'i family, about sitting under the learning tree of Afa and Samu, about how everyone in the dynasty had reciprocated his respect, except for Roman Reigns. He even hoped that Sika could see what a lying, backstabbing, manipulative, gaslighting, egotistical, narcissistic plastic politician his son Roman Reigns is. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Jey got in Punk's face and demanded he say he was sorry. Punk paused, took a beat, and said, "I'm sorry." But it wasn't an apology, it was an indictment. "I'm sorry that Roman Reigns treated you and the rest of the bloodline like garbage for years and never once came out here to publicly apologize." Punk brought up the past, reminding everyone that Roman had called Dusty Rhodes, the father of his friend Cody, irrelevant during the road to WrestleMania 40 and had never been forced to answer for it. He said he was sorry that Roman had tricked his family, the fans, and the entire business into thinking he gave a damn, because if he actually cared, he'd be standing in that ring himself instead of his 2 young boys. Jey shoved him. Jimmy threw a right hand that connected flush. Punk crumpled to the mat as the Usos stood over him, and Raw went off the air. This moment is layered with meaning that extends far beyond a simple wrestling segment. First, understand the psychology of Punk's apology. He gave them exactly what they wanted, the words "I'm sorry," but wrapped it in a truth that the Usos couldn't deny. Roman has treated them like garbage for years. Roman did call Dusty Rhodes irrelevant. By refusing to apologize for the Sika comment while redirecting the blame, Punk exposed the double standard at the heart of this feud. Second, this cuts to the core of the Anoa'i family's complicated dynamic. Jey Uso has been on a journey of self-discovery, breaking free from Roman's shadow while still carrying the family name. Jimmy has watched his brother struggle and tried to keep the peace. Standing together tonight, demanding respect for their uncle, they weren't just Roman's cousins, they were representing a legacy that predates the tribal chief by decades. Third, the Dusty Rhodes reference adds another layer. For those who remember, Roman's comment about Cody's father being irrelevant was one of the most personal moments of the WrestleMania 40 build-up. Punk, who considers Dusty a mentor, has never forgotten. By bringing it up now, he's not just defending himself, he's connecting his fight to a larger history of disrespect from Reigns. Now the part you've been being for.
After the show ended, off-air footage captured Roman Reigns breaking his silence. The tribal chief, who wasn't at Raw tonight but is scheduled to return next week in San Antonio, released a brief statement through his representatives. Phil had his chance. He chose to stand in that ring and disrespect my father again. He chose to bring up Dusty Rhodes. He chose to mock my family while my cousins stood there demanding basic human decency. The Usos handled themselves with honor tonight, but this isn't over. At WrestleMania, I'm going to remind Punk what happens when you cross the blood. You don't just lose a match, you lose your peace of mind. Everywhere you go, everything you do, for the rest of your career, I will be there. That's not a promise, that's a spoiler. CM Punk refused to apologize. He stood in that ring, looked the Usos in the eyes, and delivered a non-apology that cut deeper than any insult. He got punched for it, deservedly so, but the war is far from over. Roman Reigns has broken his silence, and his words carry the weight of a man who has been pushed too far. At WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas on April 18th-19th, these two will finally settle the score for the World Heavyweight Championship. After tonight, that match is no longer about gold. It's about family, about legacy, and about a disrespect that can never be forgotten. What do you think about CM Punk's non-apology? Did the Usos do the right thing? Will Roman make good on his promise at WrestleMania? Let us know in the comments down below. To get exclusive updates on this developing story and the fallout from tonight's Raw, you must subscribe and smash that notification bell. The road to WrestleMania has never been more personal. Don't miss what happens next when Roman Reigns returns to Raw in San Antonio.